Hey everybody and welcome back. Today we are going to be starting on our second assignment for Fusion. If we go over to Fusion, last time we kind of looked at folder management, file management, and project management. So if we go back to our home screen, remember this is called the data panel. This is where all of our data, our files, and our projects are going to be stored. Just this top part is the stuff you need to pay attention to. This is all just like samples and stuff that Fusion gives you. But last time we should have created a folder that was called Intro to Fusion with your last name attached to it. So I'm going to go in here into our project folder and I'm going to make a new folder and I'm going to call this Fusion Intro Checklist because that is what we are going to be doing. Um, on Google Classroom, you should see this posted for you. This is essentially a set of assignments that I'm going to use and record to teach you how to use Fusion. And we start off really simple, and then we are going to progress to more difficult concepts and more difficult tools. So, first, we start off with two dimensional tools, and then we're going to move on to solid modeling, which is taking a two-dimensional object and we are going to make it three-dimensional. So, that being said, let's jump into Fusion and let's get started. So, in Intro to Fusion Checklist, I'm just going to double click on this folder. And whenever I start creating something in my workspace, whatever folder I'm in inside my data panel is where it's going to be saved by default. So if I make something in here and I save it, it's going to be saved to Fusion Intro Checklist folder. Okay. So let's get started. First thing we're going to do is we're going to make a 3-inch by 3-inch square, a 4-inch by 6-inch rectangle, and a 6-inch circle. This is pretty easy, but it touches on an important part of CAD modeling, and that part is dimensioning and measurement. Okay. So dimensioning and measurement is critically the most important part of CAD modeling, because if your objects are not to size, especially if we are going to 3D print this, if your objects aren't to scale or aren't to size, they are not going to turn out right, especially when we go to put things together in a multi-part assembly. When we go to put things together in an assembly, if you just do things based on like size ratio or scale, it's not really going to work well because things are going to be different sizes and they're not going to be able to fit together. So in the top left of the screen, we're going to click on Create Sketch, this little drawing with a green plus button, and these orange planes are going to pop up in the center of the screen. These are the three planes of dimensional space. As you know, we live inside three-dimensional space, which is X, Y, and Z. There are three dimensions to our existence. And there are also three planes, which are the intersection of the three axes of X, Y, and Z. So if you look at this cube up here in the top right corner, you'll see we have Z and X being right here. So if we look at this plane in the center with the blue and red, this is our XZ plane. If we look over here, this is blue and green, so that's going to be our ZY plane. And then this, okay, I don't know why that notification just popped up. Oops. We go to start a new sketch. Our third one is the green and red. That's going to be our XY plane. That's the one that you're all familiar with from math class, X and Y coordinates. But three-dimensional space takes into account a lot of different planes, X, Y, and Z, and how those intersect, okay? So when we press start a new sketch, you can imagine these like pieces of paper that you want to start drawing on. Quick tip: the middle mouse button, if you press and hold that down, you can use that to pan. Shift plus the middle mouse button will rotate the camera. And those are going to be the most helpful tips that I can give you. Okay. Pan is the middle mouse button, and shift middle mouse button is rotate. So when we go to click create sketch, we can click on any one of these planes and you'll see that we've gone from a 3-dimensional space to a 2-dimensional space. So this is like a piece of paper, and you'll see at the top of the screen at our toolbar, all of these tools have now changed from 3-dimensional modeling tools to 2-dimensional modeling tools. So if I finish this sketch real quick, and I'm just going to delete it, back in our 3D space, you'll see at the top of the toolbar, these are all 3-dimensional tools. But then when I go to create a sketch, pick a plane, you'll see at the top of the screen, all of our toolbars change. Okay, so now we have 2-dimensional tools. This is what we're going to be using. Now, I know a lot of these tools might seem intimidating because there's a lot of them. But like I said in my last video, we go by the 20/80 rule, which says that we're only going to use about 20% of the tools in the toolbar 80% of the time. So things like line, rectangle, circle, spline, and dimension are going to be used much more often than, say, all of these constraint tools. Okay, I barely use those. I really only use those when I'm trying to get something to work. Like Modify has a bunch of stuff. I don't really use any of this, but it seems complicated, but you're really only going to be using a few of these options several times. Okay, so if we go back to our checklist, let's see here. We're going to make a 3-inch by 3-inch square first. Okay, so let's go back to Fusion, and I'm going to click on my rectangle tool, my 2-point rectangle, because if you know geometry, you know that a square is just a rectangle with equal sides. So I'll click on my rectangle tool in the top left, and I always like to start my geometries at the origin. If you start it out here, you can, but things just tend to work better if you start in the middle. Now, something that's really common is students will click and drag their mouse, but then it won't stop when you let go of the mouse. So you have to click again in order to make our square. So I'm just going to undo that real quick. So if I go to our rectangle tool, the way you can make it is you click once and let go. So my fingers are not pressing down on any mouse keys right now, but I can move my mouse around and you'll see it wants to take the shape of a rectangle. And in order to place that rectangle, all I have to do is click again. But before I do that, a nice little shortcut for dimensioning stuff is you'll see as I move this around, there are numbers changing next to my rectangles. One of them says 2.4, one of them says 3.2, and the 3.2 is highlighted right now. So I already know that this square is supposed to be 3 inches by 3 inches. So if I want to dimension this right off the bat and make things a little easier for myself, I can just type in the number 3, and you'll see that my dimension that was highlighted changed to 3. Now, if I want to jump over to my other dimension where it says 2.4, I'm going to press the Tab key, and you'll see that my 2.4 is now highlighted to select the height. So I'm going to change that to the number 3, and then I can just press Enter. And now I have a 3-inch by 3-inch square. Okay, you have to dimension your drawings. This is really, really a basic step that a lot of students forget to do because it seems like too much work. So just do yourself a favor, make sure all of your drawings have dimensions. Okay, so we have a 3-inch by 3-inch square. So I'm just going to go back and I'm going to delete that real quick, and I'll show you the other way to add dimensions just in case you forget. I'll click on my 2-point rectangle tool. I'll click once on my origin, just click and let go. You don't need to click and drag. And then I'll just click to place my rectangle. And you'll see now it doesn't have any dimensions here. This is just a random square. So if I want to set this to a size, I'm going to click on my sketch dimension tool in the top left. It's the arrows between 2 lines. And you only need to select 2 perpendicular lines here because one of them will change the height and one of them will change the width. So if I click on my bottom or my top line here, I can change my width. So I'm going to click once on my bottom line, move my mouse down, because generally you don't want to place dimensions right on top of the geometry that you're dimensioning because it gets hard to see. So you just click once, let go on the line you want to select, and then move your mouse out and down here, and then click to place your dimension. And then you can just type in the number 3, And now I have a width of 3 inches. Now, if I want to adjust my height, I can click on either my left or my right line. It doesn't matter. Both of them will change the height. Another way to do it is you can also dimension between two lines. So you'll see if I click on this line, this shows me my width because that's the length of this line. But if I wanted to change my height after clicking on this, I could also click on the bottom line, and then it's referencing the distance between the 2 points. So if I click on both my bottom and my top line, that's my height because it's telling me the distance between those 2 points. Whereas if I just click on the line itself, that'll give me the length of the line. So you can click on both the top and the bottom to get the height, or you can just click on one of the sides to get the height, and then we make that a 3, and that's done. Okay. So now we're in two-dimensional sketch mode right now. So I am going to press Finish Sketch, and you'll see we're back in 3D mode because all of my tools up here have changed to the 3D tool. I can rotate this around with Shift plus middle mouse button, or I can pan using just the middle mouse button. Okay, so this is my 3-inch by 3-inch square. I'm going to press a save right here, and I'm just going to call this 3-inch square. And that's it. So we've got our 3-inch square here. So now I am going to proceed to the next item on our checklist, which is a 4-inch by 6-inch rectangle. So I'm going to go back to Fusion. I'm going to go File, New Design, and you'll see up here, it's kind of like Chrome tabs where I can switch back and forth between these two projects. This untitled one is the one that I just made. So we're just going to make a 4-inch by 6-inch rectangle. So this is going to follow the same exact process as the square. We're just using different dimensions. So right now, when you start off the bat, you have all your 3D modeling tools. So I'm going to go Create Sketch. I'm going to pick any plane. These are like pieces of paper that you draw on. And I'm going to use my rectangle tool. Click once and let go. And the shortcut for this is you'll see that my values for the length are highlighted right now. So I'm going to change that to a 4 and then press Tab and then change that to a 6 and then press Enter. Now I've got a 4 by 6 rectangle. I'm going to press Finish Sketch. I'm going to save this. I'm just going to call this 4 by 6 rectangle. And you'll see it's saving in my Fusion Intro checklist box. All right. All right, next on my list is a 6-inch circle. So this is going to use a different tool. I'm going to go File, New Design, and you'll see a new tab pops up. It's actually easier than a square because it's just one dimension. So we're going to go Create Sketch, pick a new place to sketch on. Then I'm going to use my circle tool, my center diameter circle, and click on my center point and move my mouse out. Remember, you don't have to click and drag. You click once at the start point, let go, then move your mouse to determine where you want it to be. So if I want this to be a 6-inch diameter circle, I'm just going to type in the number 6 and then press Enter. And that gives us a 6-inch diameter circle. Okay. So Fusion complete circles measure in diameter, but any sort of curve is going to measure in radius. So remember, diameter is the full length of the circle. Radius is just from the center point out. And that's it. Okay. So that's my circle. I'll press Finish Sketch, save file, and we're going to call this 6-inch diameter circle. Okay. All right. And I think I'm going to call that for this video. And we'll continue this on the next video.